Hey, I'm Deanna.
And we're work spouses. Yep, you heard it right. But not the type that you're thinking of.
We realize you spend more time with people at work than you do with the people you love most.
We're going to discuss the interactions such as the games played at work, building the right and avoiding the wrong relationships. D'Angelo and I, we're currently work spouses.
Join us each week as we testify, help, and complain about work in corporate America. Welcome back, coworkers.
Welcome back.
Let's jump right in.
Yes.
Well, let's jump right into the cocktail of this evening.
Okay, what do we got?
Which is, I decided to, so here's your glass. You have a cranberry apple cider inside, and I have cranberry apple cider inside as well, but that's just not all. In this shaker here, I have egg white, gin, lemon, and a little simple syrup. So let's see how I did with this. So it's supposed to be a little foamy. It's going to be a little foamy because of the egg white. But I love, David, as you know, a drink with egg white.
Why? Is it because of the holiday season?
It's the holiday season, and I felt that this would be appropriate to begin your Thanksgiving festivities.
Why couldn't you get like a pumpkin?
I don't
spice?
really particularly like pumpkin, so.
Are you just trying to make sure it's equal?
Yeah, because you always say it's not enough, and I'm showing you now that this is how much you drink in those big old mugs.
Okay.
And we also went back to, as you can see, the smaller glasses. I'm just doing this because it's festive of the holiday season to use the smaller glasses. So let's cheers slowly because clearly I filled it to the rim.
Yeah. Don't hit me too hard. Okay,
Cheers.
there you go.
Cheers. I can dig it. I like it.
Yeah,
It's always going to be strong. I like really well. I like really well. Sorry, excuse me. I like cocktails that are stiff. Okay. So I like to taste my liquor. I don't like all that sweet stuff in my cocktails.
Okay.
What do you think? Like, are you okay with the foaminess? I feel like it's just a little bit. It's not too much. I think it's good.
Yeah, no, it's good.
I love that egg white.
There's some smoothness to it. I thought you were, trying to make sure that it was equal because you're trying to get back to our topic from last week.
Oh, we can definitely.
Equality.
So let's talk about that equality topic. It got really heated.
Yeah, it did.
So
heated.
I promise this time I try not to cut you off, David. I apologize.
Okay, so you must have listened to the playback.
Maybe. Or maybe I'm just self-aware, perhaps.
Yeah, and we had some people in the studio last week, and they were kind of digging the conversation.
Gave us feedback regarding it, yeah.
And there was a part of, when we talk about equality in the workplace between men and women, there's a part of the discussion that we left out that we wanted to just tag on today before we get into our topic for today. So just a continuation from last week, men versus women in the workplace. Particularly, let's talk about negotiating differences between men and women. Do you feel that men and women, they have to negotiate? That do they negotiate different? Do they approach negotiation different? Are they treated different during negotiations?
Yes, absolutely. And the reason that I know this is because I have friends who actually I have had many conversations with them regarding negotiating their salary when starting or applying for a new job. Okay, and I know from just them in particular that there's a lot of women in particular have an issue with negotiating their salary.
Okay, so what is the issue that women have with negotiating?
I think that they just do not ask for their worth.
Okay.
So they're more so apprehensive to do so because they're afraid that the job will move to the next candidate versus thinking that they'll actually get what they want. So I have actually had a few friends reach out to me. One in particular was a coworker who turned coworker to bestie. Okay. Kind of, she's like my friend now. We've been friends for like maybe 5 years or so now. Mm-hmm. And when we left jobs, she said, hey, I'm starting this new job, but I don't know how to ask for certain things, like my salary. I said, so I asked her, my question was, what do you want? Mm-hmm. What do you want? And she was like, oh. I was like, how much do you want? Right. And she thought that was a weird question. I was like, how much do you? I guess because of her facial expressions. And she told me, I said, ask for it. I said, now, if you go in there and you ask for it and they say, okay, you didn't ask for enough. That's my rule of thumb. If you go into a job and you ask for what you want and they say, okay, it wasn't enough. Because if it wasn't okay, they'll be like, that's not our salary range for this job. Or we were looking more so at this place. Because I do know that jobs play this cat and mouse game that even if they're willing to offer you, let's say $200,000, they're not going to tell you that.
No.
They're going to make you come and say, well, what is your salary range? No, tell me. You tell me, because I quantify the dollars as an amount of work and stress that I'm going to have on the job.
Do you think
more money, more problems?
Okay, how about this? Do you think the type of job we're talking about kind of determines how men and women negotiate? Let me give you an example.
Yeah.
Let's say nurses. We got male RN and we got a female RN. Mm-hmm. Do you think that in that medical field that
it does it differ?
That does it differ versus
that's a good question.
Yeah, versus if we're talking about bank presidents of of a corporation or something like that.
I did not think of that, and the reason why I didn't think of that is because I think I am ignorant to how their salary ranges work or how their level of expertise or knowledge work or degrees and stuff.
So let's say we got a man and a woman and they're equally educated and they got the same amount of certification and years of experience, and the guy goes in at a medical facility and the girl goes in. Do you think that the
one is going to be paid more than the other because of their sex?
Yes.
I don't know. See, I don't know.
And
because
do you think that's more of an even playing field versus
versus what?
Versus let's talk about let's say a studio engineer. We got a studio engineer getting paid, and we have a female studio engineer. We don't see that many female engineers, so therefore.
So now you're classifying the job amongst the popularity of the sex that is in the job, like almost like electrician or a foreman or something versus a woman who's a hairstylist versus the man
who's a hairstylist or a cook or things like that. But there's some things where it's kind of equal playing field. I still would think that the nursing industry is more predominantly women.
Yeah, but that's what I was thinking as well, and that's why I was like, I don't know.
Right. So in predominant, where the sex is predominant women, do you think men feel inferior to asking for
more or what they're worth rather? I don't know. We need to find some. I didn't do any stats on that. I'm gonna have to look up some stats because I would like to know if it matters across all professions versus dominating professions, one where it's the male versus the female, the woman. So,
because I would think to be more inclined to that in fields where the dominated sex is a female. I would think that
they're going to play more.
That's kind of That's
I would hope
equal pay.
Yeah, I would hope that it would be experience because I would think all of that will go into what you receive and how much, because that's what it should be, honestly. But I do think there are some professions that have more involved. So I don't care. In my mind, you gave me something to think about the professions, but in my mind, I don't care what the profession is. I think that if you go into a job not asking for the salary in which you hope to achieve, you do yourself a disservice once you get on board. Okay. And what I mean by that is because, so using the example as I've used with my friends, I said, listen, when you go on this job, right, and you see someone not working as hard as you or not putting in forth the effort, do not be upset that you didn't ask for enough money because you see a person doing the same job or had the same job title as you, but not doing putting in the amount the same work. So I say you can't go back to the people and say, hey, Laura not producing like I am. Yeah. You gotta give me more money. That's not gonna fly with them. So I say go in knowing your worth in the beginning, understanding that you're going to put in the work, you deserve the salary, and you're going to leave also a good impression with any organization that you're with. But don't go in and be like, she's not doing as much as work as me. Oh no. You can't go back and say no, because you're going to get upset. And then that calls for you to become almost a disgruntled employee because you're internalizing that.
Yeah.
Because now you see someone who's not working up to the same potential that you're providing the company or organization, and then you're getting upset at them because you feel like they're probably making more, or you found out that they're making more, and you get upset. You can't get upset afterwards, So I always tell them, go in understanding that they're going to be a slew of people around you who probably will do the same job. And if you know that you're going to put forth that effort, ask for what you're worth.
So how about this? Let's talk about negotiating at a car dealership. Do you think men and women negotiate different?
I do.
Or even the dealer,
I do.
They treat men and women different just in the negotiation process?
Absolutely, they do.
Okay. And why is that? And is there something that women need to do better? I
think the only thing that women need to do better is to educate themselves. Okay. Or take someone with them that I think, see, in those particular situations when you're purchasing a car, you then have the right to take someone who's educated in that field, whether it's your mechanic, whether it's your spouse, whether it's your partner, whomever, or it can be even another woman who maybe know more about cars for whatever reason. Yeah. But I think to be able to negotiate or know those things, but when you don't do that, you run into not getting the best deal. Yeah. I consider myself a hell of a negotiator, and I don't know nothing about cars, but I researched online first to see how much that same car is elsewhere before going to that dealership. Okay. So if I know that they're asking me for a price, or then you look at all the other things that will quantify the same as if you were negotiating salary. With a car, you'll look at, the years, my credit, how much I'm willing to put down, all those things that will help with negotiating. Or if you have a trade-in car, those things all add value to your negotiation. The same if you went to a salary negotiation environment for a job, you could negotiate your salary and say, hey, if I don't get this salary in full, can I get the paid time leave or the sick leave? Or can I get the education, like you pay for education, or, do some type of trade-off system.
So let me ask you, because you actually led into my next question. My next question, do you think...
what's your next question?
Work, and I'm just going off the fly. Do you think in work settings, such as corporate America or whatever, do men and women value different things? Like, say, if we're both have the same job, the same qualifications, are you more worried about the money? Or are you more worried about benefits? Are you more worried about all PTO, pay time off?
That's a part of the whole package when I'm looking at.
So do you think men and women value different things?
Absolutely.
So
absolutely.
As a woman, what are
I don't think it's just men and women. I think it's also depending on the status. Okay, single, married, yes. Correct. So I feel like I find that if you're single and don't have any responsibility or any liabilities, rather, your negotiating strategy or things that you don't receive are okay with you because that's not where you are placed at that time. So versus those who are actually who have a family and need them to be on their medical, and or they have young children and need to be out quite often, or a special needs child or a wife that don't make as much as them. They have to compensate in a way where it's beneficial to their lifestyle. Yeah. So I do think that people not only negotiate, men and women negotiate differently. If we're talking about men and women, single men and women, yes. Married men and women, partners, two partners, of course, because that's a family versus a person who's a single with no family. Okay. Women in particular, yes, because we have women, I'm sure by far go to the doctor much more than men.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
So we just do a lot of self. I'm not saying that all women do, and I'm not saying that all men don't go and sell, but we're usually the ones pushing forth men to be like, hey, time for a dentist appointment. Hey, time for a doctor's appointment, from what I have experienced anyway. So we think about the long-term health reasons and things and responsibilities that we have.
Okay, I'm gonna go off script a little bit too.
Okay, go ahead because I might have a question to follow up with.
So
you.
this is gonna really go off script. Okay, let's talk about negotiating in your relationship, negotiating in the bedroom.
Oh, I was going to go there. So you are taking. Let me see what your question is first because you might have been taking my question.
So do you think men and women they negotiate different even in the bedroom?
Yes.
Do they ask for different? Things?
Yes.
Okay. So where's your thoughts about men and women negotiating?
No, I want you to answer that because that was going to be my question, and because I have given you the floor.
Okay. So I would. My guess would be that men are always negotiating some type of physical touch. That would
physical touch?
Yeah.
Do men negotiate physical touch that
Well,
much?
when I say physical touch,
I want to know.
Well, I'm being nice about a physical touch.
Tell me.
We can say romantic touch, or we can say the guys are negotiating for.
You mean like sexual, bedroom time touch, not just regular.
Not just hold my hand. No, I don't want you to hold my hand. No, come on. Oops. Yeah, I don't want you to hold my hand.
See, that's why I need the bigger glasses.
Yeah. Trying to be cute, you gotta just.
I know, and it's so much in there. We got to drink it all too.
So, so it's like even like in a relationship. I'm married, of course, and
tell us, married man.
If what are we negotiating? It's like, okay, would you do this for me? Or let's negotiate. If you do this, or you're doing bets. Yeah,
like, give us an example of the type of negotiations that go on in a marriage.
Well, in a marriage, what happens in the room. You're almost eligible for anything. But
I asked for an example.
But example, okay. I'm a regular guy.
I'm gonna try to drink this without spilling it.
I'm a regular guy, so you're gonna negotiate. Oh, let's do this tonight. Or you got to do this to me. Things like that.
But is it within reason?
Happy ending attached. What?
A happy ending attached. I heard that. Let's go back there.
Something. Yeah.
What again? What
like to call it
is an example?
Something to put me to sleep.
Oh, okay. Let's go. Okay, an example, please.
I mean, without getting.
You don't have to get personal, but give me an example of something that you are expressing.
I mean, okay, just some. Oh, when you do the laundry, I feel like folding the clothes.
Okay,
if you do it. There's this attached to it.
What? So give me something that's comparable without being too explicit.
Well, a wife would be like, you just massage my back, something like that. But that massage, the back and the butt is too close. So it's on.
So you're ready to take it further.
Yeah. So okay, I massage your back. I'll be on the back for 30 seconds. Then I move into the next region. Yeah. So that's easy.
I asked for laundry, and you want to take it further with all that.
Yeah,
that's considered
wife
a negotiation.
Yeah, I mean, some wives, or women, just period. Okay, I would think that they want quality time. Oh, take me movies, take me to eat, or just.
So you don't think that women want physical nightcaps just as much as men?
No, I think they do.
Okay, because I was like, wait, I think I'm going to have to change this question now.
I actually think people want the rarity. So, which meaning?
Come on, give me some more examples.
If it's rare in our relationship that, let's say,
that she initiates,
or not just you initiate. Let's say it's a rare in a relationship that you give me head. Let's just put it like that.
Okay.
Let's just be adults about it.
Fellatio.
Right. So, if it's rare, so people are going to ask for the rarity, the things that don't happen all the time. That's what they want to negotiate. They want to negotiate things that they didn't get, the other night, or things that just don't happen on the regular. I would think that.
So you think that is it the woman mainly or the man?
I think both. I think both parties.
So you're basically
negotiate what's rare.
Okay, so you're saying that everybody wants to switch up, but they want the other person to initiate those switch ups without announcements.
Correct. Yeah,
so they want it to be spontaneous.
Right. So so my negotiation with my girl is gonna be,
let's try this time.
Let's try this.
I saw
this on this.
But plate. Doesn't that happen? I would assume that happens more in marriages because you're so used to that person. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I would think it would be. I would think that if you're single and you're not dating the same person, that it would be almost the same because it's like the first time all over again with a different person. Did that make sense?
Yeah. So, but how about, are you more honest in your negotiating and what you want when you're
single?
just dating?
Yes.
You think you're more honest?
Oh yeah. I think you're like even kill, because you're like, this may not happen again.
Okay.
For you, it's gonna happen plenty of times in the married man. You know what I mean? Like, you see, if you're married, that person is accessible to you always. I mean, not every minute.
We think that.
No, I know. No, this is I'm saying it as in a very, I'm giving
hopeful.
Yeah.
In a very hopeful.
Very hopeful.
Stance.
Oh my gosh, please let
stance.
it be so.
So you feel that, okay, so in a marriage you would say that
Yeah. If it's your personality,
everything on the menu is
open,
available.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it don't have to be utilized. Like, we don't have to get every item off that menu. It's just a menu there. We can pick and choose at different times and different days and different weeks and different hours. Whereas in someone else who's the first time for all the time.
Unfortunately, the truth of marriage, you ever been to a bar or and you show up at 11:30 and ask, is the kitchen open? And
they say it's closed.
It's closed. So everything on the menu, they say, well, you can get this stuff on the menu, but you can't get this stuff on the back.
I never thought about it like that.
So it's like, when you get into marriage, everything on the menu,
it's closed after a certain time.
Everything not open. After a certain time, or just the mood that the wife is in, or even the husband is in.
Wow.
It goes both ways, because,
So who brings it home? Well, actually, let me take it back a little bit more. If that's not your personality, then I can understand those things taking place. But if that's your couple style together, or I can't even say together, because I would assume that if that's one person's style, they will bring the other person to those new horizons. Mm-hmm. And then the other person or the other spouse will say, hey, I know my spouse enjoy these particular spontaneous adventures. I can entertain them once in a while.
Right.
I don't expect the kitchen to be open all 24 hours like a diner.
Think about, because that is true. Because if the kitchen is open for everything,
mm-hmm.
then nothing is really special.
Right, and it shouldn't be. I agree. See, now I agree,
right.
And that's why I like the idea, that the concept that you said about the menu. You don't have to get every freaking item. This is not a prefix menu. The menu goes on and on and on. You just don't get all the items at the same time. Right. So I may switch it up from month to month and week to week, but that's what I think when I think of marriage. I think that's the beauty of it, because although you know me for a very long time, I can still pull out certain tricks or revisit the old ones,
right? And
that you forgot about.
And the tricky thing is like, just I might get in trouble for this, but
I don't think you will.
I
Go ahead.
I will either. But I'm just keeping it real.
Okay.
What's on this menu
mm-hmm.
at this restaurant? Don't let the other restaurant have a better menu than you.
Whoa, wait. Why is there another restaurant involved?
I'm just saying. No.
What is going on? What type of restaurants are we running? Is this a joint restaurant?
No, I'm not saying joint restaurant. I'm saying what? Guys know what should be on the menu. Let's put it like this.
Wait.
We know
guys know what should be on the menu.
Right.
Okay.
So don't tell me we're in a marriage
mm-hmm.
and you saying, I'm sorry, I don't serve that.
Wait. Okay.
I'm sorry. We don't serve this, but down the street, I know.
Down the street? Hold up. Okay. No. We should not be concerned with what's down the street. Right. We should only be concerned with the menu at the restaurant that we're presently at.
I'm with, but we're still in it to stay in business.
Okay.
So in order to stay in business,
I got questions.
Okay, go ahead.
I got so many questions, man.
I'm just acting.
I don't even know which one to fire off first. Okay. So the menu at the restaurant that you're at, you're saying, don't tell me that you are out of the lobster when I ask for the lobster.
Yeah, basically.
How? That's not. At least, wait, okay. That's not fair. The shipment man may not have came in. It may be a certain type of the month where lobster isn't available, or the season. Okay. Lobster isn't available all seasons.
Okay, I like that. I get with that, and I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is, the menu may not be available all the time, but let it be an option at some point in the year that I can order from this menu.
Got you. So you're basically, what you're stating is,
your menu.
I like variety.
Yeah,
and I prefer that the variety is open to me at request because I don't ask for the same menu item every single time.
Right. But then what I'm also saying is your menu needs to be comparable.
But don't you think that needs to be also conducive to the restaurant that you have in front of you?
Oh, yeah.
So my point is,
before you take ownership
if you
of
go
that
to a restaurant, right?
Exactly. I already know where you're going. Before you take ownership of the restaurant, you better know what kind of seafood they serve in there. Even if you eat that.
Or if it's a seafood place, it might not even be a seafood place.
Right.
We might just be getting ramen noodles,
and they may be serving it rare,
not cooked.
Well done.
Right.
Yeah. Well, we know.
But so how do you? So now I have another question.
Yeah.
Ooh, okay. Ooh, this is great. Yeah. How do you then determine? Okay, I'm gonna finish this up because I wanted to get back on topic because we're getting off topic.
Yeah.
How do you? So my question is, how do you bring this to the restaurant owner that you want to see a different menu that they never even introduced to you?
Well, it should have been talked
in conversations.
Yeah, that should have been discussed.
Stop.
Hey, this is what we're gonna serve.
Hold that thought. So exactly. So why are you asking for something that's not on the menu when I never told you that it was even an item to consider?
I'm with you. Okay.
Because there should have been talks.
But are you right? Right.
No, listen. Okay, go ahead, David.
But are you open to adding new things to the menu?
But that's what you should have known prior to asking me to make the adjustments on my menu. The same conversations and talks that you tell me that the menu should involve, it's the same conversations that you should have covered prior to visiting that restaurant.
I guess my fear is as long as I guess the bottom line is really as long as it's fulfilling.
But fulfilling
the customer.
Okay.
Right. So
but you have certain
fulfilling. All customers don't want steak. Some just want hamburgers. Some just want pizza.
Right.
So I do understand that.
Right. Or let's even take it further. What if that's all you wanted at one point and then it changed? Then your palate changed.
It does change. Right. Correct. So then that's where you have to have a chef. That's willing.
Versatile.
That is versatile. That's willing to make that chef.
I don't agree. I think that's when you need to also be compromising. Because if you told the chef, hey, chef, I love a steak out of this world. Like, I would eat steak. I love it. And then the chef, and he's like, actually, now I want seafood. They're going to be like, oh, but you really enjoy steak. I perfected this steak for you, and I went to New Zealand or some place where they sell really great steaks in the world. I don't know because I don't eat steak. Yeah. And got this cut, and they aged it for 10 years, and I just really, and I brought it back here and decided to add your favorite, spices that I found, and here's your steak. And you're like, I'm not on steak no more. I prefer the scallops.
And it happens in relationships.
Yes.
It happens in restaurants. But the ones that are going to stay in business
is the ones who's going to
stay with the times.
Oh, my gosh. But I don't think that's fair to the other person that you just assume that they stay with the times. I think it's you have a responsibility to let this person know when your palate is switching. Yeah, and give them a comparable amount of time
I agree.
to also hop on board with making this dish so fabulous and delicious for you.
Introduction. You could put it on a small plate before you make it a big plate. So I
yes.
Get that. Okay, we could.
Let's move on now because I feel like we had enough of restaurant talk and menu items.
Yeah,
and we are not a restaurant.
Correct.
Although I love food.
So the topic for this week is actually we're talking about work spouses. Is it a real thing or is it a fake thing? Yeah, because
wait, is work spouse a real or fake thing?
Right. Yeah.
It's a real thing.
Yeah.
It's a real thing. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah.
It's real.
Yeah. And the reason why I thought of this because I ran into an old coworker that I used to work with in Baltimore.
Are you cheating on me?
No.
What the hell is going on here?
No. So I ran into her this weekend. And
is this an ex?
We got no
spouse.
She was
an ex work spouse.
No, she was actually somebody else's spouse, and I wasn't there that
long.
Were
you tampering in somebody else's work spouse before me?
No.
Okay.
All
right. Let's just make that clear.
I just observed it.
Okay.
Right.
Okay.
So
go ahead.
So I'm talking to her. Then I said, "Oh yeah, I got to tell you, you got to tune into my little podcast and we got we go live and things like that about work spouse. She said work spouse. She said like, what is that? What are you talking about? What is that? I said you have a work spouse. I said you had this guy was your work spouse. She said, well, I guess you never really thought about that. I said you guys actually used the term when I was there. She said yeah, but I never thought it was serious. I said it is serious. I said think about it. Everybody that you work with, who did you go out to lunch with more? Oh, him. Okay. And when he was called in sick, were you texting to find out if he really was sick? Yeah. Those are work spouse things. These are work spouse things. I said, yeah.
So you're basically stating that a lot of people have them and a lot of people don't think they have them.
Right.
So this person really was in the now let's take this to a relationship situation here. Okay. There's a lot of people who are in relationships that are actually in situationships. And that was an example of that. She didn't think she had a work spouse and actually had one.
Yes.
There are some people who actually think they have more with a partner and it's not really a full-blown relationship.
Yeah. And you need to vocalize, like in relationships, you definitely have to vocalize, hey, we're in a relationship. Hey, I have chosen you. Let's be exclusive. Because at least for me, and I would think for most men, that if you don't tell me that, hey, we're now a couple, I'm not just going to
wait, I got a question. So a woman can ask you, and you're okay with that? To be more exclusive or the only?
Yeah.
And you're, really?
It's 2019, yeah.
No, I ain't talking about I'm just talking about in general. I didn't know men like to be like,
I mean, it's
told. What? Because I have had experiences.
Yeah.
I ain't gonna be mad because I'm gonna talk about what I want, but I'm just talking about for other women. So there's a lot of women out here who expect the men to kind of be like, "Hey, I want to make you my only."
Yeah. Okay. Let me give you this. So let's say we're going together and
I'm learning so much today.
Let's say we've been on 8 dates. I just threw that out.
8 dates.
Eight dates. We've been on
8 dates. Have we been
8 dates in 8 weeks?
Have you explored restaurant menus at this point?
Yes, we have. We're on to the dinner entree.
Okay. No dessert yet, though. We're getting there.
Yeah, we're getting there.
Okay.
So let's say at that time, and we're both vibing, we both feeling each other.
Yeah.
We're like, hey, you know what? I'm spending a lot of time with you. You spend a lot of time with me. We're checking in with each other, things like that. It's okay for the woman to say, hey, you know what? It seems like we're going somewhere. It seems like we got something good. What are your thoughts on just being official? There's nothing wrong with the woman initiating that.
No, and when you put it that way,
right,
that's fine because I would do that.
I'm not saying like retribution or something like that where you're going to force somebody.
Yeah.
I brought up Norbert. I don't know why. But Jill was talking about it earlier today at work. So anyways, I'm not going to be like, well, a woman has going to dominate the guy and force him.
No, yeah. When you bring it up that way as in a casual conversation because you're having such an enjoyable time with the person, I understand. Right. But what I mean is by like making things official. So there are a lot of women, I'm almost certain, because I have a gazillion girlfriends, clearly, for my Friendsgiving. Yeah. So I'm planning a Friendsgiving this weekend, and it's a gazillion of my women friends. And I'm pretty sure they expect the male to be like, hey, I want you as my only. I don't know too many of them that would be like, what's up? Where we at? What's going on? Like, other than like I don't think they would be as assertive in asking what their title is because they don't want to make the decision for the person or put pressure on them. And that's more so the reason why we don't kind of put ourselves out there. Right. It's not that we don't want to or that we don't feel like we can be assertive. We just don't want you to think that we want you to be here if you don't want to be here.
Right. And no, and
you see what I mean?
I get with that, and I agree with that. And I guess my only caveat is if we're on the same wavelength and we're on the same vibe, it almost doesn't matter who says it.
But do you know how many women think they're on the same vibe with a person and they're actually, and the guy's like, oh no, I was just chilling. You be like, what does that mean?
Yeah, that's a good point.
No, seriously, like there's many guys where I've dated guys and I thought like, oh, this guy is really cool. Maybe this might actually be something. And then a month later, I'm like, girl, I don't know where he at.
That's a good point.
So it's just like, you don't know.
Yeah. So let me ask you this. Okay. So like I said, I was with the girl and we just talked about, work spouse is a real thing. I'm telling her, this work spouse thing is a real thing. she said her and the guy, they became work spouses because they both started at the same time. I said, okay, that's kind of
start at the job at the same
natural.
time. You go to orientation.
Correct.
Learning the same new things. Yeah.
Correct. You guys helping each other. You guys
there's something in common.
Right, and I think that's the same thing with the guest that we had the other week.
Danielle or the Tysons?
Danielle. She started.
Oh, yep, at the same time as the guy. Yep.
Right.
So
I think that's a
Mm-hmm.
common thing to easily make work spouse. And at that place, I didn't have a work spouse, but I did tell her, I said, this person would have been my work spouse because we went to orientation together and we went to lunch. We were able to connect a little bit like that.
Okay.
But moving on, do you ever take advice from your work spouse? Relationship advice.
I'm glad we're moving on to that topic because I wanted to ask you that as well because of how personal you get with your work spouse about outside of work.
Right. So these are things.
Events.
Yeah. So these are things that.
Yes.
Help you
So I think advice in general outside of a spouse, because you're now placing a title on whom you receive advice from.
Okay.
Whereas advice is advice. Like, even if it's with, no, sir, that's how I look at advice. It's like, if it's from a girlfriend or a male friend or a mom or a dad or a sister or brother or, an auntie, whatever the case may be, you determine and you distort what fits your situation. And that's what advice is. You don't necessarily have to take advice, but I think it's helpful information sometimes to say, can I apply this to my situation? Is this applicable, rather?
Mm-hmm.
David and I had the situation about applicable and applicable, and it's actually applicable. So,
yes, thank you.
You're welcome, blah, blah, blah. Anyway.
It's like maturity.
It's mature. So, yes. I think that the whole advice spectrum should be conducive to the situation. And we only give advice from our experiences. So if you have never experienced what the other person has experienced, sometimes it's difficult to give advice that's conducive to their situation.
Okay, so see now
it's because sometimes some advice can be a whole this is all wrong for me.
Right. So now we're digging somewhere.
Okay.
Okay. So then the next question was your thoughts about single people giving advice to married folks? Because you just said it's about experience.
Yes, I do agree. So, a person who is not single giving advice to a married person, I would assume the married person would have distort the information that's not applicable to their marriage. And I'm going to give you an example.
Okay, yeah, make it plain for the audience.
So if you are asking a single person or just having a conversation, you might not even be asking them for advice, but they just happen to give it, without you asking. Mm-hmm. And say, hey, yeah, I've been really trying to think of, something different to do for my husband or my wife. Right. They may be able to give that type of advice.
Okay, there we go.
But now, if they try to give advice that consists of on family matters that they have no experience with, then that may be a little bit difficult. Okay. But they could have advice within that realm if they dated someone, who was married, 2, married with children, or 3, they were married before, and it really depends on the advice and the circumstance. Because I'm a person to believe that, a contradictory of when it comes to advice. Not all advice is good advice, and Correct. 2, not all advice applies.
Correct.
But all advice is good knowledge. And that's where you come in as far as understanding your own personal situation, as in, hey, I may not need that full length of the advice that single person gave me, but I can take out this small portion to utilize as a married couple, as a married man, that I know that this may help or be a different strategy.
That's a good outtake.
You see what I mean?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I could dig
and the same with people who are single who ask for advice for married people. Because sometimes, again, if I ask for advice for a married person, they're thinking in a unionship. Sometimes they're not thinking that I'm a single person, this person is a single person too. They may not be thinking in a unionship. Okay. So married people, I find, give advice on a unionness of this person just not doing it. And no, this person is single and a fuckboy. He ain't thinking about me. He got other people. But then the married person is thinking oh, yes, he does. he don't. Listen, this is what happened. He don't text. He only texts at night. Like, you got to give him the lowdown, because married people think of things as in like a joint a lot of times, and not understanding the game, especially depending on how long they've been out. So the advice we can single people like, well, we don't want no advice from no married person because they don't know, because they've been married for 20 years. They ain't gonna understand what the single life is like, because it's been a while.
They've been at the game that long.
Yeah.
Right. So move on to the next question.
No. Oh, I want to know I want to know what you think about this.
About can a single person give a married person advice? I agree with what you said in terms of depends what kind of advice we're talking about.
Okay.
We're talking. I'm going through hard times. Thinking about leaving my wife or leaving my husband, like something like that. And the difficulties and the stress that comes upon a marriage. Can a single person really identify with those things and give sound advice from their standpoint?
Do you think so?
I don't know. I mean, it's almost like do you take advice from non-parents about kids?
No,
you never had a kid. You never woke up at 2 o'clock in the morning with a kid having nightmares or throwing up, or whatever the case may be. So it's like it's just a different beast when you actually go through.
I agree with you.
Yeah, so
it's a different beast. I do agree with you on that. But do you think that a single person can give you? Well, are you saying you don't know?
Yeah, I mean, it depends. What about, like, let's say we're staying with the kids thing, like. A single person can know how to identify certain behaviors. Yeah. So they could give you some tips on things.
What about
like
a single person whose background is in child education?
Right. You got to give them some credit.
Because so you're saying they have some credentials.
Every marriage counselor, is not married.
Right. And that's what you took the question right out of my mouth. Yeah. I was going to say that because.
But at least they're trained.
Okay, so it's a trained professional. So you're assuming
at least they train and they have actually studied, and they're not speaking from.
So they're qualified.
Their one experience because of what they observed in their house.
Okay, so you're telling me that the advice that's given from a single person who has none of these things, although you not know their experiences with those things, is less of advice than a person who's a qualified, trained profession who have dealt with those things outwardly.
I feel like you do have to look at the credibility, but I feel like experience is still the number one teacher, and experience is still.
I agree with you. Okay, so I'm going to say a few things. I solely think that it depends upon the person. Okay. Because now I do agree with you that, and it goes back to my point, not all advice is good advice, and it doesn't apply to your situation. But that could be someone else who's married. So say you meet someone else, just for an example, who's married just as you. But they do not hold their relationship values the same as you do.
Good point.
That advice is going to be just as different as a single person advice.
I'm with you.
So my point is, I don't think the status matters. I think it matters on the person and how in their values. Okay. Because, and I'm saying this only because I actually in my past had a friend who was when I was a little younger, maybe we were like friends maybe 7 or 8 years ago. We're no longer friends today. Mm-hmm. She was in a relationship and I was not. She would never tell me anything that would go on her relationship. She would only tell the friends who were in relationships because she didn't feel that I could identify with what was going on in her relationship because I was not currently in a relationship. Now, I've been in relationships, but I was just like, oh, that's interesting. So she would never express to me, right. So she didn't know that those other friends who were also in relationships would talk to me about their relationships too. And I still was able to give them, hey, I think you should. But I'm not the person. And I think people do this and have this understanding because they assume that the single person who's not in a relationship is sort of upset or something. Mm-hmm. They don't assume that the person is also willing to be like, no, this is a person that you took vows with. It's a person that you committed to. You should try to work that out and say you did everything that you did to make this work before you just say throw your hands up or throw the towel in.
Yeah, so
but they don't assume that advice would come from a single non-married person, which I don't like. I don't appreciate when people make those.
You swayed me in this
conversation.
Yeah,
persuasive Gemini here.
The person, person's value system does play
a big part. Because, and I even had a friend today. I had a conversation with a friend today, and she was like, "You are amazing of a supporting friend." I was like, "Oh my gosh, thank you." And she's actually engaged, and I'm not. So I don't even know how I've helped. But if I always said like, I don't look at relationships or someone in a relationship as like a downfall. I look at it as in like, hey, remember how it is to be like two different people? You're now becoming one. You're going to have to express that to that person. So for me, it makes me look at, although I'm not in that situation, I can look at her relationship and say, hey, you're going to have to do a little bit more explaining to this person to get to know who you are, because they just don't know who you are automatically. Yeah. And I would think that they would give me the same sound advice when and if I'm engaged too. So I don't necessarily, and I'm single, like I'm not engaged clearly, but they are. And I'm like, hey, this is a person you decided that you want to be engaged to and live the rest of your life with. I think you should look at some different ways of strategizing or communicating, Yeah. So I think it's more so the values, those values of people that are around you and knowing you, but also telling you things, because I'm a friend that tell you things even when it hurts. Like, because I know you the best. I'm not going to just be a champion for you. I'm also going to be like, well, you are like this, so maybe you can do this a little differently to get this person to understand. I feel like those people who know you the best should be the most authentic, because they can deliver that information without you taking it so harshly from somebody who don't know you as well or don't understand why you're doing certain things. Yeah. So that's just my perspective as a single person. I don't have any relationship degrees and quantifying qualities of anything. I'm not a therapist of any sort.
So sticking with the work spouse, this is another. I know we're running out of time, but I got like 2 more questions I want to rattle off.
Where my questions going to come in? Jeez.
Here we go. Have you ever cried or showed real emotion to your work spouse, or do you even feel comfortable doing that?
I don't.
Some people don't even show
emotions. That's what I was gonna say.
In public, yeah.
I was getting there. I'm gonna make this real quick. I don't even show emotions like very rarely. Yeah. Like that are like very like I cry probably twice a year.
I'm with you. I mean, I probably cry.
I am like
2.5.
So if I'm crying, everyone's like, ring the alarm. What the hell is going on? Why she's crying? What is going on? Okay. Like they're like almost so alarmed that I'm just really emotional. It's just that one time of year, So I don't really express myself through crying. And it's interesting that you brought this up, because people use like those outward expressions as in a person who's sensitive or emotional. I consider myself a very and highly emotional person. I just don't express it in crying. Does that make sense? Yeah. So I feel like just because you're crying,
you express it in? You expressing the happiness, anger, what?
I express it in conversation.
Okay.
So I feel like, or I express it in my conversation. If I have an issue, you're going to see how passionate I am about the issue, because it's bothering me, because I'm communicating about it. Like I talk through my emotions. Okay. I don't cry through my emotions. And I think people think that, oh, this person's not emotional because they don't cry. I am exuding emotions, although I'm not crying. Okay. And I think that's the misperception about people like, oh, this person's sensitive, or this person's crying. No, this person just cries when they talk about the emotions. I just don't. I can talk about my emotion without crying. So I don't have many situations where I cry through my emotions. I have many situations where I will, if I'm crying, I'm at the point where frustration has capped, like it's spilling over. And I just no longer can handle not being heard, or you're not receiving what I'm saying in a mild manner, or in a conversing with you manner, if that makes sense. Yeah. What about yourself? Like, when the last time you cried this year, David? Have you cried this year?
I'm sure I cried.
It's still a few more days left.
I feel like I cried in like February, maybe.
February?
Yeah.
What happened in February?
I don't know. Sometimes you just,
okay, I feel like you're skimming over that question.
Sometimes you just cry because you just got a lot lot on your load and you just gotta get it out.
That's the frustration that's spilling over.
Right. And sometimes it's not always frustration. Sometimes it's just like, oh man, I'm dealing with a lot. I got a lot going on.
Okay.
But I gotta keep moving. Let me push through this emotion, then get back on the horse.
Yeah. So I realized that I'm a person who emotions come at a later date. And I've had to explain this in relationships that I've been in. Mm-hmm. So I may not cry. Because I'm such a person who's I want to solve problems. Mm-hmm. Like I'm just like, oh, this is the issue. Let's fix it. I don't cry until after. Like it's like once we have solved it, once we have gotten through all those things, I'm like, okay, I can breathe easily. Then the waterfall starts to flow.
Do you ever cry over joy? Like,
oh yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Kids mainly make me cry.
Yeah.
Like when I see kids doing the most adorable things, I'm like, I am melting and like all over. Or say the most adorable things or anything because they're so like innocent. I'm like done. I'm like, oh my gosh, this is so freaking cute. I can't stand it. Like I'm like that.
Do you know the last movie you cried on?
I don't really cry on movies.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
It'll really have to touch me for me to like be like, oh my god.
So what questions do you have for me? Because I have some side questions.
Oh my god. Well, that the whole thing, but I wanted to go back to like the workplace situation with like the salary situations. Yeah. Do you find, I don't know if you know or have talked to your women counterparts in work relationships, do you find that they make less than the men in the office? Because you're a guy, so I always wondered the guy's perspective on like, do they know or have they found out or did someone tell them? I don't know how you would know.
I have had some personal conversations with two women that when I work with one that I used to work with, and we talked about salary. We had some intimate because salary is a touchy thing sometimes with people. For me,
it is.
For me,
but not for me.
Yeah, for me, I don't care.
I don't care either.
Yeah, because this is what I'm making doesn't mean I'm gonna stay here. It doesn't mean nothing to me. But I did find out that I was making more than the two women that I work with.
They had higher positions you do or the same?
And they actually, I think they were categorized as higher positions.
This is the blasphemy. What is going on here?
I mean, yeah. So
that's crazy.
Right, that is
How much
crazy.
Significantly high?
One was only annually $3,000. Another one
$3,000
was $18,000.
That's like 1%, and then over 10.
And we're doing the same thing. And we're doing the same thing.
Oh my gosh! Oh my gosh! I am going to champion for you, women. If you want to negotiate your salary, just reach out to me because these men should be making more than us. It's like no, okay.
And I told the one that I was getting $18,000 more than I said I don't even feel right.
Because it made you feel some type of way.
You know, I got kids and you don't, but I still like. Dang. But fair is fair. For me, fair is fair. So I gave her some negotiation tips.
Good, and I appreciate that, and that's propelling the person forward to actually make changes.
But the thing about it, but then it goes back to that fear. She had fear. Women have this fear to go back to the table.
Not me. You got. Right. I'm a person that. Just ending off this topic. Yeah. I realized, and I just said this to my hairstylist today. I said there's two type of people. You know, like there's two type of people in all situations I find, and I'm finding more and more ways to classify them. There's people who won't fight battles because they think they're going to lose, and there are also people who fight battles until they lose, and I'm that person. I'm going to continue to fight until you say I've lost.
Gotcha.
I'm not going to be the person that going to say I've lost before you even told me I lost. No. You're going to have to classify me as a loser because I've strived to win before I classify myself as a loser. And I feel like that's what happened in negotiations with salary with women in particular.
I mean, for me, you have to take risks. And at the end of the day, you don't want to go to work upset.
No. And that's my whole point.
And that's the thing. So your mood is bad because you're funky, because you feel like you're underpaid. Then you find out that your counterpart, who is a male, is going to pay more than you.
Yep.
I mean, that's going to build up all kind of animosity between you and your employer.
And then you'll become a disgruntled employee.
Right.
Yes. And that's why I give the strategy. Don't go in there thinking that you can ask for more. Ask for everything you want right now and I even when I'm telling my girlfriends, ask for the money that you may never see again in the future.
And then another thing, even if you're happy and you're working,
yeah.
Say you're at a company, you're happy. We're going to give you some nuggets tonight. You're happy.
I think we already did.
Yeah. And you're working. Go apply for other jobs and try to get an offer that's higher than your salary.
Oh, yeah.
And take that offer to your employer.
True story. My friend keeps trying to leave her job. You know what they keep doing? Counter offering her money. They throwing her money like it's just out there. She was like, no, I'm leaving this time.
Another thing, last thing, I know we're coming up.
Yes.
So there was another thing that I wrote in the notes that a YouTube person, because they made a comment on our show from last week. And
yes.
They said, the YouTube commentator said,
the comment in the YouTube comment box. Yes.
Comment box. He said,
you're millennial still, right? Yeah. Are you not in the millennial category anymore? If not, it shows. Anyway, carry on. You're at the cusp.
I'm on the verge.
Go ahead.
So it says workplace is set up for women and men. I mean, for women and girls, not for men and boys.
What did they mean by that? I was a little confused.
Yeah, and like I don't know. I felt like okay. So I guess they're probably just going off of the empowerment of the movement of women right now.
By saying workplace is set up for women and girls, not for men and boys?
I don't know why you would say girls, and I don't know why you would say boys.
Boys.
That's what's kind of throwing me off. But
maybe it was a person who was under a certain age who didn't know how to identify the classifications or not in that place in their career. I was thinking. I did when I saw that comment, I did ask them to explain further, but I don't think we got a feedback from it yet.
Response. Okay.
Yeah.
Like I said last week, I still think that it is a men's world. Not saying that it's going to stay.
Here we go with this again. I'm not going to get fired up, David.
Yeah, I'm not going to say it's going to stay a men's world. I'm not going to say that it's a fair thing. It's not, and I'm not also saying it's a climate or a stage that I agree with.
All right.
But
the overall picture.
I still think the truth is the truth.
Okay.
But however, women are making strides, which is what they're supposed to do.
All right.
And which is, what I'm rooting for.
Okay.
But for that comment to say, I just think he's probably speaking from my experience where he's having a bad experience where he's probably,
Maybe it's contingent upon his profession like you were talking about with like the nurse and the situation.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, I understand. I was confused by it, so I don't really know how to address this because I need more details in order to respond.
I mean, women are favored in terms of probably favor more in discrimination, favor more in terms of harassment.
Because it happens to us.
Like
it's not like it's like a fallacy. It's something that's happening. So if someone is able to favor a woman of facts that are taking place in their place of employment or wherever, that they choose to, say, hey, this is happening. It's a fact. I will hope it's truthful. Of course, that's another situation. So closing out, I want you to finish your drink and give us we cover a lot of stuff. The question of the day, like what do we want our coworkers to give us feedback on? Because I feel like we dropped a lot and talked about a lot.
Yeah, we talked about a lot. I mean, you can always give us feedback on men versus women, especially the negotiation. I think
salary negotiation.
We tabbed on the salary negotiation. What are your tricks to help other women, even if you're going to a car dealership or you're negotiating over a freaking mattress? I don't care what it is.
Okay.
What is your negotiation tricks that you can share with other women? And lastly, negotiating in the bedroom. What are things that you find that is common that, hey, me, my boyfriend, me, my husband, or whatever, me, my girlfriend, we always try to negotiate this and negotiate for that. And
in the bedroom, salary, and what else?
And the last thing, we're still talking about spouses, work spouses. It's a real thing.
It's a real thing. Okay.
It's a real thing. If you are ever in I wonder if predicament. Do I have a work spouse? Do I have a work husband, work wife? And I think this person is, or I think I want to make that person is. Hey, hit us up.
Let us know.
Message, and we'll help you close the deal.
Okay. Until next time, coworkers.
Yes.
Hey, I'm D'Angela.
And I'm David. And we're work spouses. Yep, you heard it right. But not the type that you're thinking of.
We realize you spend more time with people at work than you do with the people you love most.
We're going to discuss the interactions such as the games played at work, building the right and avoiding the wrong relationships. D'Angela and I, we're currently work spouses.
Join us each week as we testify, help, and complain about work in corporate America.